Clay Kilgore here. And just like Matt talked about, I'm beyond excited to walk you guys through Ava today and talk about how it's able to help me. Just a little bit about myself. I'm an AE in a high volume deal segment where I'm supporting up to 40 to 50 deals at once. And I don't have any dedicated SE or technical resource to help me along the way. And what used to be a challenge is now solved because I have Ava sitting there 24/7 at my side on every deal and every engagement and actually proactively does the work for me. So now I want to walk you through what that looks like as far as choosing one of the deals that I won this year and how Ava really helped me drive this much faster than I ever could doing it the old way. But before I jump into that deal, when I say that Ava helps me proactively do the work, I want to show you how that's made possible. And basically, how she's able to do that is by first and foremost being able to plug in to the tools that we use every single day. So when I log into Ava, I authenticate using Salesforce, which allows her to display all of my assigned accounts in the form of deal spaces. And each one of these deal spaces is going to be loaded up with a wealth of valuable information around the deal context because Ava's sitting in there looking at my calendar, my email, all of our call recordings and transcripts, and she's able to pull all of that information directly into a deal space and combined with her brain that we've trained her on, where Ava was brought into our org, just like a new hire. We gave her all the documentation, the knowledge around our products, processes, competitors, combining that brain with all the deal context. That's what allows Ava to actually do the work on my behalf. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into this SkyCrate deal space, and I'm going to show you how Ava helped me drive the deal from the early stages all the way to closure, and even considering the tasks such as sales handoff. And so when I come into this deal space, what you'll see right out the gate is all those sources that we're integrating with from our calendar, looking at our upcoming meetings, as well as all of our past recorded conversations and transcripts. All these are going to be organized and grouped, showing the full history, as well as using that brain and all of that knowledge pulled from these calls to really draft us some briefs that are going to be a lot more strategic and targeted than you would get using a standard tool like Gong, because Ava actually understands my products, whereas those tools really just only understand the transcript itself and what happened. So now I'm able to get much more targeted insights, help prep for those upcoming meetings. Ava's able to look across Salesforce at past opportunities, do web research, and you see the chat interface. What I did not want as a seller is just another AI chatbot. There's about 1 million of them out there. And even though Ava does give me the ability, where you think about those early qualification calls where I may get a product question, a technical question, instead of me going to the SE or throwing it out into Slack, Ava can give me those answers, and she's going to leverage all of that knowledge that we've trained her on to provide us good structured output, providing us all of that information. She knows our nomenclature. She knows how we differentiate. She knows our competitors. And so all of this allows me to better enable myself, provide answers in a quicker manner. But at the end of the day, product Q&A is not something that's going to keep me within Ava. And so going back to that proactive work, that's where the accelerators come into play. And this is really what makes Ava unique and different than any other tool on the market. Because instead of me having to constantly prompt to get the output, to get the asset that I want created using several different prompts over and over, Ava just does this automatically. So when you think about every single one of those things that we do on every deal, from exec summary, stakeholder map, product solution, sales handoff, this is what allows Ava to proactively listen in on every single call, every engagement. And instead of me having to go into player maps, go into a spreadsheet, rewatch the calls, extract stuff out of my notes, Ava's doing all of that for me. So it's very easy for me to think about in an early stage deal, who are the stakeholders that I've actually engaged with? Here are the calls where we talk to them. What's their influence? Are they a decision maker? Who do they report to? But just as important of tracking who I have spoken to, one of the hardest parts and things that often will blow up in our face down the road as we're getting nearer to signature is those stakeholders that we haven't engaged with, but are secretly very, very key to getting the deal done. And so Ava's able to recognize that by listening in on the transcripts, identifying those stakeholders from conversations I've had with my champion. And Ava's going to continue to build out profiles. And this stakeholder map is going to grow. It's living. It's not just static. As we bring in new stakeholders into the fold, this will continue to evolve. And this is going to help us just truly understand from a stakeholder engagement perspective that we're crossing them off the list. We're getting to them early. Ava's going to help us position a strategy and understand the pain points and priorities so that all I have to do is just manage those calls. I don't have to go back after the fact. And Ava has all of that context to understand, are we talking to the right stakeholder at the right time? What's the action plan for us to get in front and win them over by doing certain things like demos or workshops? And where are those risks related to the product or even things like political alignment that may come into play here? All of that is going to give you a wealth of information that you could never get by doing things the old way. And you think about how important that is from a stakeholder perspective as this deal advances, as they sign and become a customer. That's going to be critical information that's also going to be included within the sales handoff so that we don't treat this like a brand new sales engagement. We have the continuity and we have all of the solutions in play to help ensure that we get the tech win. And the reason why I'm focusing on stakeholder map and sales handoff first and foremost is these are consistently two of the most challenging things as sellers to do well, to do them consistently, and really just to save us time altogether, because these things seem very simple, but they often do take a lot of time out of our day. And because of that, they're often done not very well. So when you think about now, all of that context that Ava has learned, they sign with us, they're ready to go. Now, when I hand this over to the post-sales team, they're immediately up to speed on all of the pain points, all of the objectives. They know all of the stakeholders that are included as part of the buying committee. We also have rich details around each specific use case that we positioned around solving those challenges, as well as all of the information related to their existing tool stack, any success metrics, KPIs, as well as any commitments that I may have undersold or potentially oversold. And it's always these things that slip through the cracks. They never make it into that post-sales handoff template. These are the things that cause the big blow-ups that we always get surprised by. Now Ava is able to start building out this sales handoff document early, proactively, getting all of this done so that if they were to sign at any moment, we'd still have everything we need to make sure that they're set up for success. We're aware of all the potential risk. And now we're going to use this to further drive that customer satisfaction and drive additional expansions and renewals down the road. And so those two accelerators for me as an AE, those are things I'm doing every single time. They're critical. They're things that every org struggles with. And the good news is that Ava's has these 5 default accelerators today. Team Vivun is continuing to bring in new default accelerators that'll be available within every space. And the good news is that if you guys have an existing asset that maybe the team has been using for years, you can give that to us. Ava will ingest it, and we'll be able to create your own custom accelerator, making it easy for that team to adopt because it's the same thing that they've been doing for the past year or so. And so when you think about those two accelerators in particular, those are really helpful for the deal itself, continuing to grow. But when you think about it also from a macro perspective, there's also a lot of valuable information that we need to flow downstream and get it in front of other department heads, specifically around things like product feedback. So this is one thing that myself as a seller, I really struggle to, one, understand what's a gap and what's not because I'm not a product expert. Well, good news, Ava is, she knows our products better than any human. She knows where specific features, specific asks come up on the calls, how to automatically log these as product gaps. And so she's going to bring these front and center where these can be used during the forecast call for me to identify potential risk if we haven't gotten the tech win yet. But these are also going to flow downstream into our flagship product, Vivun AI. That's going to allow them to have analytics and reporting so that they can see the actual ARR impact, as well as the customer severity impact of each of these product gaps, and actually help them prioritize their roadmap and reduce that friction that we're constantly encountering out in the field. So now when it comes to feedback, it's not just a simple form that I'm throwing into a spreadsheet with very limited context. We're capturing everything down to the description, the actual quote, link to the gong call. And Ava actually understands, do we have a workaround, or is this something that's going to be addressed on our roadmap? So these are going to be automatically captured. And when they flow downstream into Vivun AI, that's what allows us to actually put analytics behind these product gaps and understand what is the impact of these gaps on potential ARR, as in the form of new business or churn risk, as well as understanding what is the impact of these gaps on deal velocity. So now instead of us just taking a gut feel check, focusing on things that we think are the actual problem, with Vivun AI's analytics, all those product gaps flowing in, I can easily see which deals are we losing consistently when we encounter these, which ones have slipped and caused delays because they're waiting for it to come out in the roadmap, and which ones seem like a problem, but we're actually able to still sell through them. And for myself as a seller, I honestly can't even imagine going back to the old way before the AI explosion, and having Ava there at my side truly does feel different than any other AI tool I've used, because Ava's actually able to do the work for me. So I'm really excited to see what she can do next, and excited to get off this call because I'm going to use Ava to help close out another deal. So appreciate you letting me speak, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, Clay. Man, every time I see Ava in action, I'm blown away all over again. And the fact that we can now do the work the best sales teams in the world do and make that available on every deal for every rep on every team, that's a complete redefinition of what's possible in sales. Now, there's someone else who feels strongly about redefining sales in the AI age as well. Let's bring up Jacko.